Hey guys, how's everyone doing? It's Marty here to wish everyone a belated Happy Father's Day. I know during Mother's Day we made a fun little list of my top mommies in gaming, and I thought it was the perfect time to come in and kind of just catch up on some of my favorite poppies, daddies, fathers in gaming as well. Because why not? That was a fun video. And daddies need love too, you know? So we'll just get right into it. I got a couple from my history of gaming that stick out to me. But I would definitely love to know who your favorite daddies, poppies, fathers in gaming are. First of all, just like in the mommies of gaming, they don't necessarily have to be fathers. So they've either made this list because they are actual fathers or father figures, or they're just, some kick butt daddies, if you know what I'm saying, for different reasons. So, first big one that I would like to talk about today is going to be Ryu, Street Fighter. Obviously, he is a standout in many ways because he is disciplined in his craft, right? So, in his martial arts, in his fighting skills, he obviously kicks butt, literally, and then he's fighting for a cause, fighting for a purpose. He really is honorable. He's very disciplined in his craft, honorable, wants to fight for what is right, but also wants to be respectful in many ways. So I think he was one of the very first playable characters I knew, because again, I really started my gaming journey on the Sega, so Street Fighter was a big first for me, and he stands out among many daddies in gaming. Second one is gonna be Barrett. Final Fantasy VII, original and remake. So he is quite literally a father, a daddy, to Marlene. That his daughter in the game, and we get a much more thorough backstory of that and how that all came to be in the remake. But in the original and remake, he's clearly very loving and doting to his daughter, and even though he fights for a cause in many ways through Avalanche, his daughter is his number one priority, and he loves her, and that is very clear to the player, definitely. He does fight for his group and for his cause, like I was saying. He is kind of the leader of Avalanche, really. And he is really good about, he comes across so harsh and so Barrett, if you play the game. But he kind of grows and evolves to really meet people where they're at. He starts to just develop this wanting to understand people, and you kind of see him take people under their wing. And even when they're struggling or going through something, if it's somebody he loves and cares about, he tries to really see the bigger picture and embrace them in a way that hopefully fathers do. Next daddy on our list is going to be Kratos. Hear me out. So, not necessarily from the original God of War games, but I'm talking more so the recent God of War Ragnarok, specifically this Kratos, right? So he is, again, quite literally a father to Atreus, and they have a very strained relationship at the beginning of those two games, and that's really, you learn as time goes on, that's because he wants to protect Atreus from knowing so much, and in doing so, that kind of puts the walls up around them, but they both grow so much together and apart, and he really does, at the end of the day, again, love his son and want more for his son than he feels like he's capable of giving to his son. And by the end of Ragnarok, you really kind of see them peak and come together and they communicate. They're honest with each other. They're open with each other. They're vulnerable. And they kind of lay everything out so that they can grow as individuals, not just as father and son, but, on their own too. A big one about Kratos is he gains family in his team, right? So he starts out with just him and his son, but then they are going on a journey, and of course they come across different characters, and they really become lasting family members in their own right, and he does his best to care for all of them. Even though he wants to keep everyone at an arm's length for the most part, he kind of has to give in and embrace them and ends up fighting for them. He does protect at all costs. He definitely carries a lot of burdens with him because he wants to shield those that he loves from the truth, from hurt, from pain, from untimely endings. So he kind of carries a lot of weight from him. We see him struggle with his inner thoughts through dreams and different scenarios, but the past has a way of coming back around, and the truth does come out, and those who care for him deeply and love him do try to uplift him and show him that he doesn't have to run from his past. It's time to accept and move forward. That's all there is, really. Another big daddy father in gaming, I would say, and this might be controversial because he's definitely had his moments. Chris Redfield. Now, I'm specifically talking, obviously, Resident Evil, but Resident Evil 7, 8, more so 8 Village. So the thing about Chris Redfield is he's had quite the journey in Resident Evil as a franchise. Obviously, he was in the original game, and he was one of the playable characters, campaign storylines. You could either be him or you could be Jill Valentine. Jill is my preferred character to play in that game. Chris kind of gets dogged on because there's always that meme going around where it's like, Chris cannot read the music. Chris cannot do this. Chris cannot unlock the doors. And there's a lot of different things. And then we kind of go throughout the series. We get to the Unspeakable game, which is 5, where he's punching boulders. So, in a way, he's a daddy. Strong daddy, right? Punching boulders daddy. But really, in all seriousness, we do see him grow so much as a character. He goes from being boulder daddy to being a leader, and he continues to grow in his field. So he starts, on the stars, and then he kind of goes into the BSAA? Obviously, that does not all pan out for him, but he continues to grow and kind of, I don't want to say climbs the ladder, but so to speak, right? Like, he starts in one space as a police officer and then kind of, gonna just throw my desk, kind of works his way up through different organizations, and again is trying to fight for answers, fight for the greater good, take care of the people he does care about. He's obviously gone through some partners and some hardships and trying to understand who to trust, what is the truth, who to believe in, but he is trying to do good by the world. So he also carries a lot of weight with him. And I think especially in 8, we see him, again, not necessarily fully communicating to Ethan what's going on and why he has to take the approach he does. But then ultimately we kind of see that wrap up and we understand why he's doing what he's doing and what it's all for. And again, it's for the greater good. Next big standout daddy in gaming is gonna be Dante, Devil May Cry series. And I'm thinking specifically of Devil May Cry 5, which is gonna be like the latest game to come out in that series. So, spoilers, 1, 2, 3. He is one of the main characters, Nero, actual uncle, and we find that out in the game, later into the game. It's kind of one of those things where you're like, isn't he? And it's pretty much confirmed. And he's really disrespectful to Nero it's Dante. We expect nothing less, right? He's not the most, he's brash, he's rude, he's arrogant, he's all of the things. But he, again, does what he does in the name of love at the end of the day and trying to protect people and trying to handle everything on his own so that he can spare those around him. And so even though he's like all of these really rude things, he really does what he does because he cares for a certain group of people and he keeps them close and wants to keep them safe and wants them to have better. Again, and I think that's so true of a mark of a father is you might not always have the answers to why they're doing what they're doing, but they do, and they very much are trying to do it so that you can do better than they did. Okay, another favorite daddy in gaming of mine, this is me just fangirling, can't see that at all, Alucard from Castlevania Symphony of the Night, PlayStation game. Probably one of my favorite games of all time. I could play it 100,000 million times over. It's so good. It's one of my favorite soundtracks. I'm on a tangent about the game in general. One of my favorite soundtracks of all time. One of my favorite games. Like, it's so good. If you guys have not played it, it's a gem. Like, if I could make everyone play one game, it might be this game. So good. But really, he's a son in the game, right? So he's coming back to the castle. He is Dracula's son, and then Dracula and his mother, Alucard's mother, had him, clearly. I don't know why I'm explaining that. But, so he's half vampire, half human. And he's really kind of trying to go back to the castle to kind of fight again for truth, justice, his mother, a lot of things. But he does gain some allies in the castle, which the allies are much less than the enemies that he has in the castle, because it is Dracula's castle, right? At the end of the day, like, their loyalties are elsewhere, but he does have some allies, and he grows to learn a little bit more than he even realized he was coming there to learn. And so he does kind of have this sense of care for the castle, sense of care for the world, and for humans, which for a lot of vampires in that world, they have no relationship with humans. But he is really trying to go there to do what he can. And so in that way, and the fact that he's just beautiful, gorgeous, he is a daddy. Last big one, I've talked a little bit on the channel about him before, is going to be Lee from Telltale's Walking Dead. I really adore the first installment of The Walking Dead, Telltale's Walking Dead, because of Lee and specifically Clementine's relationship. So Lee ends up finding Clementine, lost young girl. She doesn't have her parents. It's obviously a zombie world, and he takes care of her. His mission is to help her reunite with her family, but in doing so, they become a family unit of their own, and he would do anything and does do anything to protect her. Again, he has to make some of the hardest choices, and it's a decision-based game, so they hold a lot of weight for him as a character and for you as a player. I think that's what's really stressful about it. He's a real leader. Like, he takes up a leadership role almost immediately upon taking Clementine, because it's no longer just him. He realizes how much impact he has on her life very early on. And so then he has to make all those hard decisions, and he is not just family to Clementine. Again, you kind of get this cast of different characters that you meet, some that stay with you for a long time, and further on into the series as well, and some that are short-lived, some that become enemies. It's just, again, decision-based games. They are very difficult to always know for sure what direction you're heading in. But yeah, those are some of my favorite standout daddies in gaming. I know there are so many more, and I would again love to hear who your favorite daddies, poppies, whatever fathers in gaming are. I definitely know some more just thinking off the top of my head, but I would love to hear what you guys think down below. And I'm sorry I'm getting this up a little late, but happy belated Father's Day to everybody out there. Father figures, uncles, brothers, anything adjacent to fathers, really taking up that mantle and caring for those around you and making the tough decisions that need to be made. Happy Father's Day. Thank you so much. Happy Father's Day to my two wonderful father-in-laws. Very happy that I am part of their extended family. A very happy Father's Day to my wonderful husband, who I love so much and is just my bestie for the restie. We've built a beautiful home family life together, so I am forever grateful for his friendship and love. Happy Father's Day to my wonderful brother, who I've talked about on the channel before. And even though we were very blessed to have a father figure in our life and continue to have, we've always had such a bond, and he's just been such a role model to me. And I can't imagine having grown up with anyone else. Again, just a true womb to the tomb friend. And then also happy belated Father's Day to my father. I have his smile. I have his stubbornness. But I really just admire his hardworking nature. He's disciplined at his craft. He's going to try anything. He gets his hands in everything. And I've always appreciated that. But as an adult, I've grown to appreciate it so much more. And I love him and everything he does for our whole family. So yes, have so many people to thank. So thank you all. Happy Father's Day. Everybody have a great weekend. And like I said, let me know down below favorite daddies in gaming. Okay? Thank you so much. Have a good one.